How would you define or describe what an objection is? What thoughts do you have, or what is your perception of an objection? Pause the program. Think about these two questions for a moment. Write down one or two answers. How would you respond? After giving this question some consideration, you likely came up with several different responses. How do your definitions compare with the ones provided here? An objection could be defined or described as follows: a legitimate concern that could be a deal breaker, a statement or an off-the-cuff comment. It is a verbal way in which some people express themselves to weigh out their options, choices, and alternatives in order to make a decision. A source of confusion or misunderstanding based on assumption, incorrect, or uninformed thinking. Simply feedback. A test or challenge to see if you really believe what you have told them. Proof that the other person is listening to what you have said. A negotiation tool used to create leverage. A way in which a potential purchaser reveals points that you must explain in greater depth. Often an indicator or sign of interest. Information that could be of significant value to the sales representative because it pinpoints hot buttons that must be addressed. Stated objections are of great value because they direct you towards specific areas that must be addressed, and if they can't, the objection saves you a great deal of time and frustration. A question or inquiry expressed when further clarification is desired. Very seldom will a sales transaction go so smoothly that the client won't express some sort of concern or bring up an objection. In those instances where the objections are minimal or non-existent, there was either an existing relationship or the sales representative did a textbook presentation. In what ways are objections potentially negative or bad? In what ways are objections potentially negative or bad? If you are unable to address them to the prospect's satisfaction, then they will either prevent a sale from happening, or they will create other issues in the area of negotiation, discounting, and/or making other concessions. If the salesperson is inexperienced, uncomfortable, or insufficiently prepared or trained to manage or cope with objections, then it will negatively impact their confidence and ability to remain composed, emotionally resilient, and professional in their sales interactions. When the objection arises too early in the sales interaction and they are not overcome, the prospect will make their decision and become very closed-minded, shut down, and resistant to further dialogue or information. Why are objections sometimes a positive sign? When a person objects, you have to ask yourself, what are they really saying or telling me, or what is the message behind the message? Potentially, it shows interest. It shows they are listening. You are able to address stated objections by finding out if they are true and the level of significance that they have. Objections are very, very good. This is the exact opposite of the way that we are trained to think. If someone says no or bombards us with a negative statement, our natural tendency is to either get defensive, an argument, or back away. If a person doesn't have an objection throughout the presentation, this could be reason for concern. I can think of several circumstances where a client agreed with me throughout a presentation without one single objection. When it came to the close, they either shut me down or put me off permanently. An objection can prove several things. The prospect is listening to what you are saying. They are interested in what you are explaining, and they readily admit some reservations. When responding to objections, I often say, obviously you are interested. I like this statement. Honestly, why would a prospect bother to announce an objection unless there was sincere interest? The oddest expectation in many sales organizations is that an individual can be hired, and even though they may have some degree of product knowledge, industry experience, or relevant educational background, they are given little or no insight, i.e. training, in the area of common industry objections or how to address them and expected to succeed. People are often faced with imminent failure when they are suddenly cast into the reality of objections. Logically, it is understood that when your emotion is high, your intelligence is low. Your brain can disengage from your tongue, and your ability to smoothly manage objections becomes non-existent.
Learning Spotlight number 1. It's time to review what we've covered so far. Each question in the quiz has a 90-second time limit, and the quiz has a 15-minute time limit. You cannot pause the quiz once you begin. The quiz includes many types of questions, including true or false, drag and drop, multiple answers, etc. Read the questions carefully and make sure you understand what is being asked before submitting your response. Many of the questions or variations of them will be included in the final exam. You will be graded, and the passing grade for the quiz is 70%. You will have 3 chances to attain a passing grade. If you fail to attain a passing grade after 3 attempts, you will be locked out of the course. You will have an opportunity to review the quiz responses upon successful completion. If you wish to review the previous slides and sections, do so before advancing. Upon completion of the quiz, please click on the green Next button with the white arrow in order to advance to the next step in the learning path. This concludes step number 2 of the learning path. Please click on the green Next button with the white arrow in order to advance when you are ready to proceed.